Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Zone Blitz. I am Vince Miller, joined by my co-host Ashton Overhaul, and today we are going to be talking about the ACC. We're making our win totals for the year, making our picks. So we're going to get right into it with Clemson. Clemson, their over/under is set at 11 and a half wins this year. And by the way, I should mention I searched around a little bit, made sure I found lines that end in .5 for all of these teams, so we can make a definitive pick. There's no pushes here. We're going for overs and unders. So Ashton, Clemson 11.5. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Initial thoughts, I don't like the number, and it's mainly because you can't. There's no room. There's no breathing room there at all. When you're 11 and a half, you can't lose. And I mean, they did lose last year. And so it's no disrespect to Clemson. I'll take the under there, but purely from a betting perspective, I don't. I never like giving or saying that a team's going to go undefeated. If we're betting, you would take the under on that. But no disrespect there at all. Clemson is the class of the ACC, and I don't think anyone disagrees with that. So yeah, I'll take the under, but no disrespect. Just want to mention that.
Yeah, I do think, and personally, looking at their schedule, this basically comes down to will they beat Georgia in my mind? Because you mentioned they lost last year. There's not a Notre Dame on their schedule. There's no one else they can lose to. They don't play North Carolina. I don't believe they play Miami in the regular season. I should actually
They
check.
don't.
They
They
don't.
don't.
So it's Georgia or nobody, in my opinion. So for me, when I was going through this one, it was like, do I think they will beat Georgia or do I think they will lose to Georgia? For me, that's what it comes down to.
Exactly. It is that, but there always is that element of just a surprise game, a trap game, if you will. NC State. I think that's a tricky game for them. I like NC State this year, and just to bear with me a little bit, I also like Boston College. So yeah, there's no. I'm not saying that they will lose any of those games. The Georgia game feels like a coin flip, and that's really the main reason why I wouldn't be taking the Clemson number.
Right. If you view that game as a coin flip or even a slight advantage in Clemson's favor, statistically, you're better off taking the under here. For me personally, I'm just going to go ahead and do the over. I realize that's probably not the smart play, just based on the way schedules work out. And I'm not even confident that they're going to beat Georgia. I think that is an absolute crazy game. Basically, my thoughts on it are just Clemson's about a 4 point favorite. Um, and if I just go off of history, I trust Clemson a bit more than Georgia. I would not be shocked at all if Georgia won this game or even the national title this year. So it's not a confident pick by me. This is not a game I will be putting any or a game or an over under as far as Clemson's 11.5. I'm not putting any money on this in real life. And I would just advise everyone out there to stay away from this one. That's my personal opinion. For the sake of this podcast, I will be choosing Clemson with the over, which basically just means they have to go 12-0.
Gotcha. The only thing with that, I don't have money on the Clemson over under. If I would, I'd put it on the under. I do have money on the Clemson versus Georgia game, so I do have skin in the game. That does not make me unbiased here. I have maybe a little too much money on Georgia to win that one. So but yeah, no, that's going to be that game, by the way. And we have to get into that just a little bit. I know we're trying to talk only ACC here. That game, week one, that's what we live for. Like that is, yeah, that's that you get excited even now just talking about it. That game. It's going to be at 7:30 prime time, Memorial Day weekend. It's what dreams are made of. Can't wait for that. It's a game. It yeah could go either way. There's so much unknown still. Just being the beginning of the year, we're just seeing we're developing. Yeah, we're just developing opinions still on teams. We don't know. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's a really good opening weekend, in my opinion, and that's easily the granddaddy of them all. Sorry, Rose Bowl, for stealing that line. But like that game, there's so many ramifications for the rest of the season coming out of that game. And to me, it's an honest, like it's a legitimate question. Can Clemson actually make it to the playoff if they don't win that game? I realize, yeah, they can still win the ACC. They would have that ACC championship game over most likely a good team. So that might be what gets them back in it. But I think it could depend on the rest of the teams in the country. Who else goes 12-1 or whatever? Because There in the rest of the regular season, there's no other resume building opportunities for Clemson other than just beating everyone by 50, really.
There's really not. Yeah, you're not wrong. They kind of missed the big teams. They missed the big teams from the other side of the bracket. They missed North Carolina and Miami. Those are kind of the two big ones, and they would play presumably one of them in the ACC title game. They can get there. They can get into the playoff with a loss to Georgia. That the Georgia game, for as much as we're going to build that up and put a lot of emphasis on that, it's not really a deal breaker for either one of these teams. Either one of these teams still can and probably will get in if they run the table from there on out with that first loss. Someone has to lose, and that doesn't just completely rule them out. Like, yeah, just a side note.
Yeah. So really, I mean, what does this game come down to? Is it purely the quarterbacks? We got JT Daniels, DJ Uyunglele. Uyunglele. I got to work on saying that. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot this year, most likely. So does it come down to those two? Does it come down to the defenses? What does this game come down to, in your opinion?
I think more. I think we kind of know what the quarterbacks are. I feel like we kind of know what the quarterbacks are. I think it's going to be a little bit the retooling of skill position players. Clemson will be breaking in a new running back or a new set of running backs. Georgia will have, with the loss of George Pickens getting hurt, they will have presumably a new number one receiver. They do have some depth there. We'll see how that turns out. So I think it's going to be maybe more the skill. We'll see who trusts more early. It's going to come down, I think, to a lot of trust. Who's willing to just cut it loose and go for it, um, and also how they prepared. Different teams. Clemson's isn't. They start notoriously slow. They peak at the right time. Their goal is to be peaking in November, December. That's when they want to be playing their best ball. Kirby Smart, he's a disciple of Nick Saban. They schedule these big games early for a reason, and it's because they feel that they are more prepared early on. It feels some of those teams almost redline a little bit early, and then yeah, they start to tail off towards the end. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, so I guess one storyline I'll be looking at for Clemson, Justin Ross, who of course was an absolute beast several years ago in Clemson's title run as a true freshman, and missed all of last year with a potentially career-threatening medical issue, and he's back now. I'm going to be really interested to see if he's back to what the Justin Ross is that we know and love, or what are you expecting from Justin Ross? Do you think he can become an All-American, or is this the type of thing where we should just be happy that he's back on the field in any capacity?
Happy that he's back on the field. I think he's tremendously talented. There's no denying that. No one would disagree with you there. Tremendous talent. Um, it's those are hard. Those are really tough to know. How you come back from being off for a year. That's yeah, that's really tough to just be able to forecast how he's going to be week one in his first live game action. Like so, yeah, that's tough to say. I think if he is completely healthy, he's going to be a huge bonus for that Clemson offense from last year.